was diagnosed at 47 after waiting for 3 years on an NHS list. And I'm aware of the, I don't see myself, yeah, I'm aware that more needs to be done to raise awareness of the condition, not to see it as a disability, but to make the right allowances for it, and allow people to thrive. So I've always sort of zoned out of conversations and always thought, well, simple answer to that is don't be boring. But I would zone out. Like I've always struggled. I'm very creative, good writer, which is why I became a journalist. Never liked. The other thing was that it was going for a job that didn't require me to sit at a desk all day. So I've never. I can focus. I can hyper focus for hours if I'm interested in the story I'm writing or interested in the project I'm working on. But I never ever wanted to sit at a desk all day. And when I read various articles, I thought, hang on, this is resonating. And for a long time I thought, am I making this up? Is this just in my head? Am I making excuses? And then a couple of people I knew who worked either for organisations like CAMS or one friend who is an SEN in a school, and these are people who are experts on neurodiversity, sort of said separately, are you ADHD? And I said, well, I've thought about it. I said, but I'm not sure. And they said, oh, we're pretty certain you are. And because of the changing nature of the industry I work in, and a need to know for myself, I sought a diagnosis. And again, part of why I've come here, part of why I want to be an advocate for ADHD UK is very linked to the fact that I was offered, no disrespect to the NHS, but it took 3 years to get a diagnosis. And at the same time, no disrespect to the NHS, but I'm struggling to get anything. They've offered me meds, but I'm struggling to get anything other than meds in terms of support. And so that's really why that's been my sort of journey. It's the reason for my creativity. It's also possibly the way I do things, the way I do, and that's not right, that's not wrong, that's just how I do things. I think the diagnosis has helped me understand myself, and I think over time I'm still processing it, but I will stop masking symptoms. So when you come to a place of self-acceptance, I think that allows you to be who you are. And that's because it was only a year ago that I got the diagnosis. That is something that I'm still sort of processing. So I think it'll take time. And yeah, it'll take time before I know what I want people to know. But I just say, the reason that I do a lot of sport, the reason that but I'm not necessarily focused or any good at it, the reason I fly from hobby to hobby and probably look a bit flighty and all over the place, is linked to the ADHD, but it's also just part of who I am. So I think the founder of ADHD UK said to me, he describes his hobby as collecting hobbies, and I found that quite something I could relate to. So yeah, so I think that is it. I think it's that sense of actually I'm extremely creative. It makes me extremely productive at work. So as long as I'm autonomous in what I'm doing and I've got the chance to chat to lots of different people and do lots of different things, I'm quite happy, and that I think that's a good thing. At the end of I'm 47, and back in the 80s when I was at school, I did encounter some bullying, and some of what I experienced was being called dopey. And I remember teachers commenting on the fact that I zoned out, and other things, which I now know are, how I understand the world comes from how my brain works. And there's nothing wrong with my brain. I'm doing quite well in life, thank you very much. And I think there was real issues with confidence, and some of that came from the messaging and the hypersensitivity that I experienced. Now, I'm lucky in that I come from a loving and encouraging family. So I was able, and I've got good friends. So part of it is I've got the ability to make friends. So I've got good friends, and I was always determined. I'm also high functioning, apparently. Well, we take that out, actually. Not everyone likes that phrase, but the psychiatrist described me as high functioning. So I've, but I think what I'd like them to do is stop calling people dopey. Don't criticise the child, male or female, who's staring out of the window, who isn't swinging from the chandeliers. And, maybe look at if someone's, don't criticise someone for being sensitive, because actually it's a good trait, not a bad trait. So that's, I think, what I would tell my school. I would also say, don't make people do sports they don't want to do and give them access to swimming. I think that's where I started to struggle, would have been A-level and university study. So I think for me, I'd have liked to have had a bit more structure with the study that I was doing. And I think I felt, I met my deadlines, but usually I met my deadlines by working. I mean, I remember getting a 2-1 once on an essay and being really chuffed, but I did it after I'd been to the pub because the deadline was the next day. And the lecturer took me to one side. I said, "This was really good." I was like, "Was it?" So I think it would have been more like, I don't think the way the course was structured, and this is no one's fault because they wouldn't have known, was necessarily the best. Well, it wasn't the best for my way of working. I'd like the NHS to know that I understand how hard it can be. They need to understand that it is, while I don't consider myself disabled, it is a recognised disability, and I'd like the primary care available to match the NICE guidelines. GP is very good. He's working within he's working with the resources he has, but the NHS, the NICE guidelines say that the patient should have a choice of treatments, and that could be talking treatments or medication. I haven't been offered that, even though I've asked for it, and my doctor's looking into it, but it's taking a long time. And I just think that's an absolute disgrace on the part of the NHS. And I know that they're underfunded. I know there's resourcing issues. So I'm not criticising NHS staff. I'm just criticising possibly the government and possibly the structures, which we know it's not joined. We know it's not joined up. We know it's hard, and we know that the medics are leaving in droves for that very reason. So I'm not. What I'm saying is I'm not criticising the doctors. Because everybody's got different perspectives. Most of my friends, when I got a lot of my friends went, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." I think it's just understand this might be why you might find this odd, but we all find each other odd. And I think, my friends know that I zone out a bit. It's why I prefer creative work to technical work. It's why, for example, when I do a triathlon, my training might not be as focused as it should be, but I'll move and I'll get through it. Yeah, and it's probably why I can dance all night. Remove the bits of getting tired and the bits of getting low and the disorganisation in terms of things and the but I would keep the creativity and the energy and the high bits. The thing I use is the Pomodoro technique. So it's 25 minutes on a it might not, it's not the textbook, it's how I do it. 20, and I used it long before I even thought I had it, or even really understood it was anything other than little boys who couldn't stay still. So the Pomodoro technique, it was to focus at work, to accomplish tasks. 25 minutes, and then you can when the alarm goes off, you have a 5-minute break. Another 25 minutes. You do that 4 times. After 4 of those, you can take a 15-minute break. And it's a way of getting things done, because you can accomplish a lot in 25 minutes, knowing that in 25 minutes, you can get up, make a cuppa, go to the loo, jump around, whatever, but it makes you focus. Probably my ability to write quick.